sorry in advance, okay? You are stuck again with me, so I apologize in advance for that. Again, I try to compensate with a bottle of Porto wine for the best question, okay? So not everything is bad, hopefully. And this is the last talk of the day, so I will also try to be fast on the talk so that you will be free for the party. Do you want to join this side? Yeah, they are friendly, they don't bite. I hope. So today this last talk will be about earned value management, okay, EVM. Not the most sexy topic in the world, okay, but I think it could be useful. Okay? So hopefully you will also take something home with you regarding this talk. And it was a follow-up talk from the previous one. Okay, so it's a kind of second talk related with the same topic, but now focus on EVM. Okay, so warning ahead. As I said, it's not fun, okay, it will not be fun, but it can be useful, okay? So probably you have been in projects where someone needs to do the work, right? Not something that you enjoyed, but sometimes we need to do it. So today I will be talking about EVM. So what is the problem? Okay, so most probably you have a project manager, this nice guy asking questions about your project, right? So things like, what is the progress? Okay. And probably you have some tools, right? Like this one, the burn down chart or burn up chart, however you draw it. And these charts are quite useful, but they have a problem, right? All these charts, they have this line, and not everything in life is a straight line. Most of the time, it's not a straight line, right? As we saw in the previous talk, in most of the case, you have this S shape. But that's not what you find on these burn down charts. You only have one line, right? So you already know from the beginning that you will not follow this line. And if you are following that line, probably something is wrong, okay? Because that's not how it happens in reality. The second question is, okay, what is the ETA? When are we ready to go live? Okay, and we always struggle a little bit to be able to give these answers, right? Usually, for example, for the progress, if we have 100 test cases, we already did 50 of them. We say, yeah, we are in the middle, right? 50%. But is that really the actual progress? Again, 80-20, right? The last 20% of the test case will take 80% of the time, right? So 50%, it's actually a wrong data. It's a wrong percentage on the progress. But that's what you get if you use these kind of tools. So what will be the solution? Well, if we look to project management, so to provide the progress, to provide the ETA, it's actually what a good project manager should be already doing, right? So project managers, they have techniques for that. So it's not something new. So why not learn with them? Again, if you remember the quadrant of the soft skills, you also need to know something from project management, okay? So this is one of the things. And you can also look to them and ask, okay, how can I do this? Look to the techniques from the project manager and try to understand if they have any tool, any technique that can be useful. And yes, they have. So usually, you see them writing some charts, doing some nice presentations, but they have some specific tools for these. Okay, it's not just, talk. They also have some tools. If they use them or not, again, it's like QA, okay? They only use 20% of their techniques. They will not use all of them. Some of the project managers don't even know all the techniques, okay? Even if they are basic techniques or if they are useful for them, it does not mean that everyone knows everything. So the solution, it could be to look to these three different constraints, okay? Scope, time, and cost. And you can say, oh, you are missing quality. Okay, no, I'm not missing quality, but for this exercise today, we are only looking to these ones, scope, time, and cost. Okay, these are the constraints that we will use on the EVM. Okay, and you will see it later on. So, do you know also these semaphores, right? The traffic lights, and it's quite simple: red, yellow, green, right? Red, stop; yellow, go. With careful, depending on the country. Okay, sometimes yellow in some countries it's just another green. Okay, and then you have green. Okay, and green it's go. Only for you. Okay, not for the other ones. But again, it depends on the country. But it's quite simple, right? So if you see a project on red, you know that you have problems. Green, you need to be careful, monitor it, and it's green. It's green, don't care, right? While it's green, you don't need to care. But again, what is green? What is yellow? What is red? Okay, it's really subjective. And besides that, it's 100% green, it's 90% green, 80%. When does it change from yellow to green? Okay, and most probably you already had that project that was green today, and tomorrow it's red. You say, what happened? Why the color changed, right? Even on the traffic lights, to change from green to red, you go through yellow, right? The yellow starts to blink in some countries, so you know that the red is coming. But in the projects, it's not always like that. You change from green to yellow, from green to red, like this. It's just changing the color and say, no, now we are in trouble. But yesterday we were good, yeah. But that's life. So it's not something that you can trust on this. It's important to have these lights. It's a simplification of the project status, but doesn't tell you a lot of information either. And more than that, it doesn't allow you to react to the risks, to anticipate the risks, right? When it changes to red, it's already too late to do something because you are already in the red. So, okay. Yeah, so we have a better solution. Okay, let's look what could be a better solution. So we have this earned value management, okay? And actually it's earned value management systems, okay? Did you heard already anything about this? Do you know EVM? It's completely new for you guys? Okay, good, because then I can say anything and you don't know if I'm right or wrong. So it's not a new thing, okay? It comes from the 60s. Okay? You say, wow, and you still don't know about it. Don't worry, most of the project managers also don't know about it, and it's their field of knowledge. So this was the first draft. They have these 35 criteria, and it was mainly for the US government for the contract, to be able to, some guidelines for the contract of these projects from the US government when they were working with third parties, with providers of software. And then in the 90s, they moved this from just a list of criteria. They actually changed it to a standard. Okay, then it becomes to be a standard accepted by the DoD and also the NASA. Okay, so for safety critical projects. So if you are working on that field, probably you will need to use this. Okay, and it's a system because it's a list of things. It's not just the EVM itself, it's a set of process tools and templates, okay? And when you heard about these kind of safety critical standards, it's always something that it's easy to scare you, okay? But don't worry, you don't need to know all these criteria, you don't need to know the full standard to use EVM. Okay, so it's a simple tool that you can still use without going through all that list. So in a simple way, it's a project management tool, it's a project management methodology that will look to schedule, costs, and scope. Okay, so it will not look to quality. I know that quality is important, that's why we are here today, but this tool does not look to the quality itself. But it's based on the planned and actual values. So what is the plan and what is your current status? And this will allow us to predict the future, okay? This was way before AI, okay? I know that AI now solves all the problems, but this is way before, and we use these type of tools to help us to predict the future, okay? So you have the scope, you have the time, you have the costs, and the EVM analysis, so earned value analysis, part of the earned value management system, will look into this quantitative technique to evaluate the project performance. Okay, so instead of using just the colors, like, it's red, it's green, okay, we will try to have some formulas, some numbers that will help us to understand if it's green, if it's yellow, if it's red. So it's a quantitative instead of being subjective. And it will look mainly to the schedule and to the costs. Again, not to the quality, okay, only time and costs. And it will allow us to analyze the trend and the forecast, okay? Again, trend and forecast, so you can forget pie charts, okay? They will not give you this. This is a quite interesting study, okay? This is actually from a study that was done where as soon as you get into 20% of the project execution, okay, only 20%, you can predict the remaining 80%. Okay, with a margin of 10%, more or less 10% of errors. So, but the first 20% are quite important to understand how the remaining project will work, okay? So what are the benefits of EVM? So it helps you to reduce the unknowns, okay, to reduce or to mitigate the risks. So it will give you some important information for you to be able to understand that you have some risks ahead, that you are falling behind on the schedule, that you are spending more money than what it was planned. So this is one of the benefits from this tool, and it will help you to react in advance, okay? Not when it is already red, but before getting red. It also helps you to compare your baseline, your performance. So you have a S-curve that it's the estimation, and then you will be able to compare your current progress against what was estimated. Besides that, you have metrics, right? We need numbers, we love numbers, we should have numbers, and these numbers will give you the performance, but also the forecast. Okay, so you can look a little bit into the future and try to anticipate problems. And you have data, so you can take better decisions. You can take informed decisions based on the data, not just based on your perception, not just based on your gut feelings, but based on the data and what the data tells you. So another warning, okay, formulas ahead, okay? If you're like me, I don't like formulas. My wife is a mathematics teacher, so I leave that with her, but we will have some formulas ahead, okay? Don't be afraid, they are quite simple, and later on we will also have a template with all those formulas already implemented. So let's start into the main concepts, okay? And this is where the boring part starts, okay? If it didn't start before, it will start now. So the first concept, it's the planned value, PV, okay? So how much work did you plan to complete? This is basically your budget cost for that schedule, okay? If you have a project with 100K for 5 months, this is what it's your planned value. So you have the formula here. So it's the total project costs, and it's a percentage of the planned work, okay? So you have this always by time, okay? This percentage gives you the percentage at the current time. So if you have 1 month, you can do that for every single day of your project, okay? It's a percentage. On the first day, you will have a percentage of the total cost, okay? And again, this can be a simple, you just divide the total by the number of days, or you can use, for example, an S-curve to do the estimation. Could be just a straight line, right? In this case, you have the full budget in the beginning, and then you will lose budget as you move on, or you can do something a little bit more smart. Again, this for the projects, it's for schedule, it's for cost. It's not really designed for software testing, but you can also use this for software testing if you change it's not money, it's not the hours, it's not the cost, the schedule, but you can use this, for example, with the test case. So your cost, your value, it's the number of test cases that you are delivering. Okay, so think on the money, not on the money for the testers, but on the test case. And a hint, you can use this planned S-curve to predict what will be the behavior, so for the planning purpose. So, for example, still on this, for example, in the beginning, you are able to run a small amount of test case, as we saw on the charts, and then it goes up, and in the end, you will have 100%, hopefully 100% of execution on the test case, okay? So this will be your planned value. Yeah, okay, it's back. And then you have the second concept, it's the earned value, okay, EV. So how much did you already complete? Okay, how much did you already deliver? So the first one, it's the estimation. The second one, it's the value that you already earned, the value that you already produced in the project. And I have here some other words that mean the same thing, and you also have the formula, okay? Again, try to understand the formula, but you don't need to remember them. You don't need to know all the formulas to use this technique. You just build them once, or you just grab a template, and all the formulas will be there. And again, on the software testing side, it can be the number of test cases that passed, okay? The green area that we had on the previous charts. And the last concept, okay, it's the actual cost. So how much did you spend to get that value, okay? So it can be more or less than what it was planned. Okay? If you are spending more time, for example, because you are doing a lot of regression testing, or because you are retesting several times the same test case because it failed, it passed, or it failed, then you are spending more than what was initially planned, okay? And again, sorry, the formula here, I will not, again, it's important for you to understand a little bit the formula, but more than that, it's the concept. So a second set of context, it's the analysis, okay? So you have these formulas, they will provide you some output, and then you need to look into this output and try to understand what is the actual forecast, what is the actual performance. So we have the schedule variance, that's basically the difference on the schedule between the planned and the actual, okay? Are you ahead of schedule or are you behind schedule, okay? So that will be given by this formula here, okay? And you can use it like a value or as a percentage, okay? And we have exactly the same thing. And this looks complex, but it's not. It's exactly the same thing, but for cost variance. Okay, so are you spending more money or less money than what was planned? Okay, simple as that. And yeah, then you have, if you have a value below 0 or above 0, that will help you to understand if you are spending more or less. Simple. Okay, it looks much more complex in the PowerPoint. The last part, I believe, no, not last, but you also have performance index. Okay, so again, the same concept, but if it's below 1 or above 1, this will give you an indication if you are moving faster or slower than what was planned. Okay, the same concept, but with a different. Different representation. In this case, it's just above 1 or below 1. It's not the actual number of days or the actual cost. Okay, and as I said, you also have the same thing on the cost. Okay, you will always have schedule and cost, always. Okay, and this for project management. Okay, so that's what they have in their mind. Okay, is it on time? Or do I need to speed up? Okay, is it on cost, or do I need to inject to ask for more budget? Okay, so forecast. Remember the actual progress. You will have these performance indicators, but for forecasting, you also need to have some specific context. And again, in this case, for costs. Okay, we will not have the for schedule, but if you have the cost, then you can plan according to your team size, for example. You can plan when you will be able to finish based on the costs that were estimated. And we have two ways of estimating the costs. Again, they will give you the same thing in the end, but the first one is estimated at completion, okay? So what will be the final cost on, at completion date, or what will be the cost to complete? Okay, one is the total cost, the other one is what is remaining. What you still need to spend, what is still the cost to be spent to achieve the final goal. Okay, two different views. Again, they will give you the same result. And sorry, by the way, this will use everything that you already calculated before. Okay, so you have the input, you have the index that are calculated, and then you use all this information for the forecast. So looking to our traffic lights, okay, so how can we improve our traffic lights with this information? So we already have these performance indicators, right? Are we moving faster? Are we spending more money, less money? So when you look to this, you can actually transform your lights in something more informative, something that is not just, you know, I'm green, just put your finger, try to see where the wind is coming through, but you can actually use these indicators to understand what's the light you should use, okay? And then, how can I do it, okay? I already understood all the concepts, okay? It looks a little bit simple. I know that I have lots of formulas, but how can I implement it? The process, actually, it's quite simple. The first one is to collect all these inputs, all these data, okay? It's not a lot of data, it may look like, but it's not. Just these 4 different variables, and then you need to analyze them. As soon as you have the formulas, these will come automatically, and later on, that's the hardest part. You need to look to the data, you need to understand what you can do. So this is the information that you can use in your reports, okay? That you can use to take the decisions, saying, okay, we are late, or we are fast, or we are spending more, okay? And this could be good or bad when you look to these numbers, okay? You cannot say, oh, we are spending less, so it's good. No, if you are spending less, but if you are behind the schedule, okay, it means that you will not fill in the deadline, right? Actually, it could be the case that you will actually spend more money in the end to be able to increase your speed, okay? So spending less or even actually being faster, you need to understand the context to understand if it's good or bad, okay? Sometimes moving faster is not always good, okay? So how does it look like? You know, so you have these 3 4 decisions, right? You need to understand I'm behind schedule, I'm ahead schedule, I'm behind schedule and the costs are higher. So that's not the best scenario, right? You are late and you are spending more than what you should. But it could be that you are late, but you are also spending less. Why? Because, for example, you are not able to build the team, right? You plan to have 10 team members and you only have 5. So, of course, yes, you are spending less, and as you are spending less, you have a small team, you are also not being able to deliver at the speed that was planned, so you are behind the schedule, okay? So you have this, and then you have the famous S-curve, okay, that we saw in the last talk. So you have the actual cost, you have the earned value, okay? And this was the planned, the estimation, okay? What we estimated. So we are spending more, we are late. Okay, so if we are on the line, it means that we are just on what was planned, on the estimation, okay? And that's not something common, right, in the IT projects. We are always late or spending more, unfortunately. So to have the full picture, how does it look like, and some more information. So again, you have the actual, you have the planned on the green, you have the actual cost on blue, and then you have the earned value. So they will always follow the same shape. It will always be this S-curve but will give you different information when you compare against the plans. So, for example, this time, as I told you, this is the cost, and it could be the number of test cases, for example, for QA. And you can see the schedule variation, the cost variation. Okay, so if you are spending more or less, you have the numbers, but when you look to the chart, that number, it's this difference. Okay, so you are behind or you are ahead the costs or the schedule. So, does it look useful? Tell me. I know that it's end of the day, more or less. I know that you are waiting for the party, but what do you think?
Actually, it does, but one thing I wonder, so all those charts, as you mentioned, some of them, like the down chart, is used for one sprint. Mm-hmm. So we know that in Agile methodology, we can have some changes for requirements.
Yep.
So in this case, if we have something, this is used for the whole project, right? This is applied to the whole process of the project, not just one chunk, like one sprint. In that case, how we can adjust it to the changes, since one of the values of Agile methodology is also being adjustable to changes. So in that case, all the phase of planning will somehow be maybe in vain, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, I will stay on the but for now. Okay, because I knew that the but was coming. Yeah, it's a good point, and this started on safety critical projects. Okay, and as you can imagine, that was not agile at all. Now they are trying to build I don't know how it works, but they are trying to build a fighter jet using agile. Okay, so I don't know if they will just deliver a MVP, something that can fly, and later on they will transform that into a real fighter. I don't know. But yes, if you have smaller projects or smaller chunks in agile projects, you need to understand what is the effort of using these tools. Okay, so if you have something already in place, if you have all these metrics being collected automatically, it will not hurt. If you need to spend a lot of time collecting manually all these values, then probably you will not get value out of it. You will spend more time trying to get information and less value out of it. So it's a good question. There is no right or wrong answer. You will need to understand if you are able to implement this automatically, and it will be there, so it will not hurt you. And if it provides value for you, good, you can use it. If not, then probably you can just stop using it, okay? But just having this understanding that you have these tools, I think it can be useful. And if you need to understand the behavior during the sprint, probably you can take a look in this and say, oh, let me try to build this chart to see if it provides some useful information or not, okay? But going to the but, okay? So you saw that it was coming, right? Yeah, it's useful, but no thanks, okay? We are too busy for that, okay? So I know it looks quite complex. It looks, you have all these formulas, all these things that you need to implement. Take a look into it, okay? As I told you before, spend some time, try to improve. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, drop it, okay? But don't drop it without trying, okay? If you know a little bit about performance testing, that's how it works, right? You want to improve the performance, you do some small change, you measure again. It worked, it improved or not. If it improved, okay, move to the next improvement. If it failed, drop it and start again from scratch and try a different improvement, okay? This is the same. We are talking about process improvement. Don't drop it without try it. So, again, if you are interested on this, if you want to try it, if you want a quick start, a quick step on this, just contact me on LinkedIn, and I will provide you a template ready to use, so you don't need to work all these formulas. And yes, it's free. I forgot to tell that. Okay, it's a free template that you can use on Excel, and then you just need to fill in your data and to see if it's useful, if you can take something out of it or not. Okay, so final takeaways. Okay, I'm really trying to rush so that you can go to the party. Forecast. Okay, so EVM, it's one of the most accurate techniques that you can use for forecast. Okay, instead of just putting your finger in the air, this will give you some numbers that you can use for the forecast. Risks, again, okay? We are trying to anticipate that moves from green to red, okay, quickly without any context. If you look to that chart that I showed to you, and even the ones that you saw just in the S-curve, right, you could see, oh, we have a risk ahead. We will not be able to deliver, right? That's what you can see on the chart. EVM will give you the numbers so that you can tell, no, look, it's not just the color, it's not just my understanding on the chart, we are behind the schedule, or we are behind the cost, or we are spending more. So it will give you some more arguments to have a discussion with project manager and to explain why you need more resource or why you are not feeling confident that we will achieve the milestone, right? So it gives you more tools for that discussion to convince the project manager that what you are telling is true, okay? Because you have numbers to show that, okay? It's not just your opinion, it's not just how you read that chart, it's what the numbers tell you, okay? You can even tell to the project manager, you know, we have a very good team, I believe that we'll be able to deliver, but the numbers are showing me something different. So most probably we need to do something. And the last but not least, it's quite simple. It doesn't look like, it looks like a very complex system, but it's not. It's quite simple. As soon as you have everything set up in your Excel file, that will be quite simple to use. So, again, thank you. Obrigado. Merci. And yeah, we have some questions already. I was not expecting questions too. Great.
Many thanks for the excellent presentation. I have two questions, in fact. Do you think it's worth using some product, I mean, of earned value and cost? Mm-hmm. Would it be feasible to use it? Would it be forecasting? Would it have some predictive power? And the second question is to do with, if we step back a bit and consider changing, requirements changing, for example, if we normalize those values, would it be useful? How do you think?
Okay, so the first one, just it's to apply EVM to a product? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense to be applied to a product, okay, but of course you need to have your end goal, right? It cannot be that an ongoing product. You need to say, okay, it's for the next version of the product. You have the budget, you have the time, okay, the schedule, so you can work with that point of view, even if it's a project, and it's not you know, a fixed price project, for example. So yes, it's also applicable. The second one, it's related with requirement change, and it's also related with the first question that we had. Yes, it's quite common that we change the requirements. Well, Agile says that, right? But Agile doesn't say, well, we change everything in the same sprint. That's actually not, it's supposed to happen, because if we change something on the last day of the sprint, we know what will happen, right? We will fail the sprint, we will not be able to deliver, or we will suffer on quality. But yeah, change is there, right? We cannot say, oh, we will not change anything, you know, that will not happen, because the business changes quite frequently, more than what we would like to. So if you are changing the scope, okay, you need to reflect that. Does it mean that you will have more time? It means that you have more schedule. So it's not just the scope that changed, you also need to reflect that scope. And you can say, well, we are changing the scope because we are just replacing, so nothing else changed. The scope will change, we take one thing, we put another one, but the scope, the schedule and the cost will be the same. On that case, most probably it will not have impact, okay? If you are changing something that was already implemented, that was already tested, then you already had that cost. So you need to take that into consideration. So It can work, okay? Again, if you are changing too much, that will mean a huge effort to maintain something like this. But then I will say that the problem is not on the maintenance that you will, on the effort that you will need to maintain this model. Then the problem, the root cause of the problem, is the frequent change that you are having in the project, right? So that's the problem. You are trying to fix something in the wrong place. You need to fix it on the root cause that, okay, why are we having these changes so frequently, okay? Most of the times we try to fix the problems in the wrong place, okay? And actually we are not fixing the problems, we are just, trying to hide them, right? Next sprint, you will have the same challenge, right? Lots of change again, because, why? Because you didn't fix the root cause of the problem, okay? It's always like that. You go to one side and the person with the question is on the other side. Murphy law.
Okay, thanks. But one thing I still don't understand is how can I forecast number of test cases? Even for a sprint, if it is 3 weeks of work, I don't know how many test cases it will be. It could be sometimes I decide to create small, some big. So how can I forecast that for a whole project?
Yeah. Well, we are always talking about the estimation in the beginning, right? And you can say that you start the project already with the defined test case. So before starting the implementation or before starting the execution, you already have the test case defined. So you know already the size of the test case, right? If you are doing that completely agile, we define as we go, okay? That's also one way of doing it. You are taking the risk. And then you say, yes, I don't know what will be the final number of test cases, but basically you are starting with a blank sheet, right? You will write the test case as soon as you need them, okay? That will not be feasible for this. However, if you have a cost and if you have a schedule, you need to have that number already, okay? It could be just a wild guess or educated guess to say, oh, we have these features, this is a simple feature, this is a complex one, we have this form, we have this API, and then you have some Excel file where you will have, like if it's a simple API, 2 test cases. If it's a complex API, 10 test cases, okay? And then you just need to know how many simple APIs you have, how many complex APIs you have, and that will give you a number, okay? If you are working on fixed price projects, you need to have that when you are doing the estimation, right? When you are selling the project to the customer. So you already have a rough number of the number of test cases that you will need. It could be the case that you will need more, it could be the case that you will need less, but you have the estimated total number since the beginning. You should, okay? If you don't have, then something is wrong, okay? Does it make sense?
Yeah, and then fixed time.
Exactly. Anything else? Yeah, another one. Well, you have more questions than what I would expect for this topic.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. It was really nice and helpful. I would like to understand if we apply this model to testing, should we also consider, when we say cost, is it the same like in project money in dollars or I don't know in euros, or we can replace this cost by something different, for example resources or I don't know what extra effort, I don't know, but not the money, because when we plan our testing activity we don't think about the money, right?
Correct.
And we all, don't know how much it was discussed with the client about testing cost. So what can be replaced in this case?
Yeah, good question. And yeah, it's true. So the basic model, it's cost and time. For QA, we keep the time, but not the same unit for the cost. Okay, and if you look to the initial formulas, you will see that I replaced cost, money, by number of test cases. Okay, so usually when we are talking about the estimation, for example, and to understand the cost, it can be if you look to your historical data, you can say, oh, usually we have 50 test cases per tester, okay? And then you can use that as your cost unity, okay? And in some projects, you will move faster, some projects will move slower, and when you are using the prediction, what you will do is, I know what is the number of test case, that will be my cost. You can say in this project, I expect to have more or less test cases per tester, and then you will have also the number of testers per day. Okay, so when you are estimating, that will be the values that you need to have. The average number of test cases, and then the planned number of test cases per day per tester, and then the formulas will build everything else for you. Okay, but it's a good question. Yes, it's not cost as money, it's cost as test case unit. Okay?
Last
Great.
question. And do you think the experienced manager will work more effectively than these numbers, formulas, etc., for some projects, processes, or something else?
Yeah, so to sell the message, right? To pass the message to them, to the senior managers?
To understand what is red and what is green.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. Again, you will have good project manager, bad project manager, same way that you have good testers and bad testers, okay? Senior does not mean good, okay? It could be that just that they are spending more time on that position, okay? They are getting older, not always the same as getting better, right? The port wine, usually older, it means better. Project managers and testers, not always. But when we look to senior project managers, senior QAs, you know, numbers will always help to pass the message, in my opinion, in my experience, okay? Because it's not your opinion, okay? If you have your own opinion, I can debate it. I can say, why are you saying that? In my experience, that's not right. Your understanding is wrong on my experience. And you can say that my experience is wrong or right, because that's my experience and it's valid. It could be different from yours, but then we have something to discuss. But if you are showing me the numbers, even if my experience is different, that's the number, right? So I cannot argue against the number. I cannot say, oh, that number is wrong. I say, no, look, this is a valid method. It's used by NASA. It's used by the American Department of Defense. So you are saying that their formulas are wrong, that methods that was invented in the 60s is no longer valid? No. Okay, so they will not fight against the model. So it's much easier to put the number, right? So even if you agree with the project manager, you know, the project manager says, no, this is green. We will be able to do it, because no one wants to give the bad news, right? You can say, yeah, I agree with you, but attention, okay, warning. The numbers are telling that we are yellow, ready, or red. We are not green. I think we are good, I agree with you, but the numbers are showing something different. So if the numbers are showing something different, you know, opinions apart, we should look to the numbers. So yes, I think the numbers will help to sell the message. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, finish.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and numbers, well, if you use numbers, make sure that your numbers are correct. Okay? If you lose the trust on your numbers, then, okay, no one will ever again trust on you. So double check your numbers. Data quality, we had a talk today about data quality. Data quality is quite important. Before showing your numbers, make sure that your numbers are 100% correct. Okay? We are done? So,
thank you.
Can you choose the best question and offer?
Me?
Just choose the best question. Well, cannot be always me. So, who do you think it was the best question? Let's vote. Choose. It's hard. It's not easy to be here, you know. So say, oh, it's really easy to be on stage and you have a bottle of wine. Oh, okay. So congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, guys.